Welcome to Hear Me Out and Pass the Scissors, a podcast where two long-distance scrapbooking friends talk creativity, chaos, and cutting things up on purpose. I'm Lisa from Life and Layouts on YouTube.
And I'm Nicole from ColieBing. Whether you're scrapbooking at your desk, your kitchen table, or just in your head, grab your scissors and hear us out.
So, hear me out. Let's talk about Christmas scrapbooking.
Yes. The season of glitter, joy, and taking 400 photos of your tree from slightly different angles.
Right. But Christmas isn't only about twinkling lights and perfect layouts. There are photos that make us smile, and then there's ones that might be a little bit harder.
Because sometimes the people in those photos aren't in our lives anymore, and telling those stories can get emotional real fast.
And then there's the pressure to scrap everything. Things that are happening in December. Suddenly, you're buried under a mountain of photos and half-finished projects.
Today, we're talking about all of it. The tinsel, the tears, and the way too many photos.
How we decide what to document, what to set aside for later, and how to keep the joy in memory keeping when the season is a lot.
So grab a candy cane and move that pile of photos off your chair.
And hear us out. All right, so let's talk about our first topic, which is too many photos and managing the holiday overload. I know I want to take photos of everything, but sometimes that leads to, like you said, 400 photos. So how many photos are you taking around the holidays?
I have no idea. As you were saying that, I was like, oh, we're gonna be different on this one too. I feel like the responsibility of documenting the holiday has sort of just been given to me without it being asked, I would say. Like, I feel like our various gatherings, everybody shows up with a smartphone, and I'm still the only one either using my phone or my camera to take photos. So I don't really pay attention to how many photos. I'm just sort of almost stressed out trying to just take pictures of what's going on. And it never even occurs to me to be like, hey, here's my phone. Could you take a picture of me? Because I exist too. So the number of photos for me isn't necessarily like on my mind until later when I'm like, oh, I didn't get a photo of this. I didn't get a photo of that. This person's missing. And then the guilt sets in.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I'm also that same way. I'm always a person who is required to take photos. Even if somebody else does take photos, it's the basics that they don't get. My mom is so notorious for taking a photo with the window behind the person. And so, like, they're super dark. I remember just recently for when we were carving pumpkins, I said, Mom, stand over there so the sun can, like, face me, because the sun was setting, so there wasn't a whole lot of light. I was like, so the sun can face me so I can get some light. And she was like, no, I don't like that background.
The background doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can blur that out. And so she doesn't grasp those concepts.
I feel like I have got a little bit different of the few times where I'll tell my husband like, hey, can you just make it like I just need you to just prove that I existed for this day. And it's not like, can you take a photo where I look good? It's literally open the app and hit the shutter and close the app. Like there's no I'm like, okay, technically yes, you took a photo.
Right.
However,
that's when you got to start eliciting your daughter to come.
I was going to say, she's right at that age where a couple times I've been like, hey, I don't have my phone with me. And like me and my dog are looking cute. Can you get a photo for me? And she will take a couple. She will rotate her phone. She will do me, she's not going to give me a triple chin.
Yeah. I feel like girls are always better at taking photos than guys. So with that phone aspect, do you think that we take more photos now that we have our phones and that's available?
I feel like, yeah, that's an easy yes. I feel like Christmas is still one of those occasions that I still pull out my large photo or my large camera because of the shutter speed. But it's like a built-in habit. But then I'm still taking stuff with my phone at the same time too.
I think for me too, I know we're going to talk about this later with creating with collections, but this year that we are using the creating with collections, which for me is 2023. That's the year that I'm working through. This will be the first year that I have completed all of the photos that I've taken for 2023 once we're done with it all. And I don't think that I ever realized how many events I needed documented. Not a lot, let alone the amount of photos that I have, but just the events that we do during the Christmas season. And I have only done planned out for creating with collections the events that are like in my Christmas folder, because I was thinking about it last night, like what other photos should I add to this, and do I want to put them with creating with collections, or do I want to put them more with, because they're my Disney photos, and just put that out there, do I want them to be documented like Disney collections, or do I want to?
I was gonna say, I feel like this is another one of those examples where we come at it from a different thing, where I feel like I'm documenting the things that are just happening, and you are making things happen to take the photos.
Yes, yeah.
Where you're like, hey, there's a thing happening at one of the hotels at the Disney property. We're gonna go do this because I've already planned out the layout. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm like, is there a holiday concert that happens to fall anywhere near here? Sure, great, whatever. But I've just kind of reached I've very much settled into like it's okay to have a calm Christmas. It's okay to like just do the small traditional things that we typically do. And I'm not going to have all these like crazy things where I'm going to do a December daily album and we're going to do all these things, and it's already stressful enough for me trying to make things magical for other people. I don't need the added stress of then trying to find things to go do that are Christmas themed that, let's be honest, nobody here is interested in that anyways, just for me to get a cute photo. So I hope something cute happens. And if it does, it does.
I think before, when I didn't have Eli, so it was just me, I did a lot more of those events because I didn't have the built-in family that you could do cute things with, right?
Yeah, it's a different season. So you're it's gonna look, yeah, it's gonna look different. You probably had a lot of like cute like Christmas themed trivia things to go do and like bar crawls
Yes,
and
very different. And I think as well, with all of the Christmas events that are available, sometimes it is overload, like you said. And it is one of those things, by the time I get to Christmas Day, I'm done. Like, we're going to take our pictures Christmas morning. I'm going to do something with us around the Christmas tree in our Christmas pajamas. And the rest of the day is do not talk to me. Do not make pictures of me. Nothing. Like, we are laying on the couch, decompressing and watching A Christmas Story, because that's my movie.
oh, we only made it through like 75% of it last year. So
So I am of the generation where it was on TBS
mhm.
24/7, and it is now on my streaming device 24/7. I play it,
Oh.
end it, I repeat it. It is just on when we're opening
We
presents.
are very much a household where Die Hard is very much a Christmas movie. And if you don't agree with that, I cannot. I can't listen to it.
I'm gonna give you a little secret.
Oh,
I've never seen Die Hard. Die Hard.
okay, we're watching Die Hard together. We're watching Die Hard together. Oh my God, I can't even I can't even say any of the famous lines because the editing would just be like, "Lee."
Yeah, I've heard that where people are very much on the fence as to whether it is.
I would even consider some like I think the first Lethal Weapon movie is in my mind a Christmas movie. Like there's a Christmas tree farm in it. There's like listen, I grew up I listen. Don't get me wrong. I've seen like A Christmas Story, but like I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life. Um but how have you not seen Die Hard? I feel like every time we sit down to record, my just bottom falls out when you tell me something that I'm just like, how?
All right. So, what about, have you ever looked back on your photos, maybe when you're trying to document things? And I know you talked about like you missed out on certain events or certain people in when you were taking the pictures, right? But have you ever looked back and thought, I took too many photos, or I didn't take enough photos besides the ones that you definitely missed?
I feel like it's always, oh God, why are there so many blurry photos? Like it's always, I'll look at it because I tend to separate my stuff. And I don't know if you've got this in like the show outline. I tend to separate the day into how we've transitioned into experiencing the day. So there's sort of like my core four at home, and then we used to go to my family in the morning, and then we used to go to my husband's family in the afternoon. And that has since kind of shuffled around, but it was always kind of like separated into different things. So I would separate my layouts that way as well. And I am very much, it's not going to exceed the 2 page. So whatever doesn't fit with on that 2 page, and if I have to squeeze in like a what's the thing? The divided page protector. I don't do flip flops, but I will put like a what's that thing called?
A pocket page.
Yeah. I will do something like that, but I'm not going to do 2 to 3 double page layouts of just us opening presents on Christmas morning. Not to say that that's bad. It just doesn't fit my way of like how my brain thinks about stuff like that. It's like I want one double page for us in the morning. I want one double page of us with my family. I want one double page with his family. There's probably like 10 things that I deal with regarding Christmas, and it's almost always the same. So I usually try to figure out, okay, how many photos aren't blurry? How many am I working with? With Christmas, it's probably going to be a double page. But I almost always have too many photos, so it's easy for me to say like, okay, I don't like this one. I do like this one. There was one year I took a really good picture of my daughter like spazzing out over something, and it somehow got corrupted or deleted. Like I spent like $60 on software to try to like get the photo back. Like that photo is in my head. Nothing else I can remember. That photo is in there. So I have had like bad photos. But it's usually I feel like I take too many. So I'm usually good on like how many photos are going to go on the layout. I don't think there's ever been a Christmas issue where I'm like, oh, I don't have enough photos.
So for me, it's very different because we have just, I wouldn't say my core family because I consider Eli and myself my core family, which I remind me to tell you later about that whole conversation about core family that he had with me the other day. So Christmas morning is Eli, myself, my mom, my sister, and my niece. And that is our Christmas morning. And that is it. Like we don't go and visit anybody else. I'm not married. I don't have a significant other, so I don't have to go visit their family. We don't have any connection at all with Eli's dad, so we don't go visit his family. It is that one and done, and we are good. And actually, with Creating with Collections, I did that double page of Eli opening his presents. I think I have a double page planned for Nevaeh opening presents. And then, no, actually, I think I have a single page of Nevaeh opening her presents. And then I have a single page of me, myself, or me, my mom, and my sister opening presents. Like, we're all going to go on one because I'm an adult and I get like one gift or two gifts. I don't need a double page for that. So, and the same thing with my mom and my sister. They get two gifts, one for me, one for Eli. And that's usually it. So our core family is a lot smaller. So that makes Christmas morning photos and layouts a lot less.
And I think we've touched on it, but like, what's your go-to suggestion to squeeze more photos in?
Like you said, a pocket page is always great. Flip-flops I'm always going to use. I think that I've thought about this process of, you know how I do the QR code with the videos and stuff? You can also in Canva, and as an idea, as a tutorial, something if that's possible people want, like you can create a slideshow video where if you think about like back when we were younger and there was that big slideshow and people would just go through constant photos, right? So you could make a slideshow in Canva that turns into a video, upload that video to YouTube, put your QR code on your double page layout. So
I see, and have that be like a companion, like more for more photos, scan here.
right. So you're pulling out your favorite photos of your kids opening presents, or maybe even just the photos of them with their presents. But if you want I'm sure, because I do the same thing. I take like 20 pictures of him opening the packaging, and then I only ever use the one where
you're hoping that you're gonna get like that, oh cute, and then you get like the
right. So if you want to include all 400 photos, you could make that slideshow with the photos, and then just have your favorite ones on the layout.
I know we touched on it in a previous episode where I said I had made a cover. Have you ever done December Daily?
I have done a December Daily. Can you get to yours quickly?
Oh, I have no idea where it is.
No. So let me show you mine.
I will try to find it for the next episode.
It's like open. It opened up. All right, so this is my December Daily, the only one I have ever created. It was a kit, like a Simple Stories kit.
Oh, cute.
It came with instructions on like exactly where to put your embellishments, where to put photos, and as you can see, there's like no detail.
Is that empty?
It is empty.
You didn't fill it out.
Yes, it's like I said, it did fall out, but some of it is done. But no, I can't even tell you what year this is.
I know a couple people who do December daily, and I kind of think it might be something that I might revisit like later when we don't have like that core family thing going on, because the ones that I've seen are like my friends who are like empty nesters or their kids are adults, and they kind of take it as a method of documenting like the things that they love about Christmas. And it's not necessarily those traditional photos that you see in like the scrapbook layouts. And so I always find that like so interesting to see, because a lot of times it'll be like, one photo.
Right. With that December daily idea, I feel like you could do, I think I've seen like December memories. I think that might be what you're referring to, where they've just talked about what they love about the holiday, or they talked about their favorite Christmas memory in the past when their kids are older and things like that.
I don't know. I think that they are so like I love when people up post like flip through videos. I will sit and watch those and I'm like the amount of work that goes into that. I am like, "Oh my gosh." Now, am I going to do that? Not right now. But thank you for sharing yours because it's gorgeous.
And I feel like it's one of those things where we are always wanting to see what other people's ideas are. And even if we're not using the December daily idea,
Yeah, because I've seen things where it'll be like a unique thing that they'll do on, that 6x8 format. And a lot of times I'll get like ideas from that where I'm like, ooh, I like that. And I could translate that into a traditional layout if I did X, Y, and Z.
so for me, I am always behind and I am perfectly okay with being behind. But what do you think would be something for our viewers that where they feel like they're behind and they're not caught up and they have all these photos that need to be documented? How do they get past that guilt?
Well, I think the first question to answer is in relation to behind what? What are you behind? Is there a line of people at your front door saying, I need to see these layouts immediately? Because that's not happening at my house. And I know some people, they'll put out like albums on their coffee table and stuff when they're like hosting get togethers and stuff. I think that's so fun. If I was visiting somebody's house, I don't think I would even notice that it wasn't like the current year's layouts or even the previous year's layouts. Do you know what I mean? I would just say, if you feel guilty over being behind, don't, because there's no, it's what do you know how they say there's no rules in scrapbooking. And, back to the whole you do you thing. Like, if you don't want the additional stress of creating the magic and hosting the Christmas, or maybe Christmas is a hard time, wait until it's July and you're not in the mood to be sweating and you're like, you know what I could use right now is a little bit of Christmas. And then work on it then.
And I think that goes right into our next topic, which is the emotional side of the holiday, how to deal with that. We brought it up in our intro about people no longer being out of our lives, and that could be for a multiple of reasons, right? They're no longer with us at all. Maybe the relationship didn't work out for whatever reason, didn't want to be around them anymore, or they didn't want to be around you anymore, even if there was no relationship there. So like friendships and things like that. So how do you deal with that type of documentation? Do you include those people? Well, first let me ask, do you have anything where you have looked back on photos when you're trying to document them and be like, I don't know if I want to include this?
Okay, so because I'm not caught up, right, and I don't scrap in like current time, so sometimes by the time I get to something, I'm like, that person is no longer invited to Christmas for whatever reasons. I'm not going to say who they're related to or who they're whatever. People come into our lives, people leave our lives. This one left for not a great reason. I learned how to remove somebody from a group photo in Photoshop. Took me 2 hours to do it. Homeboy's out of the picture, forgot his legs.
Random legs in their photo.
It's fine. I think it's hilarious when I look at it. I don't have to see his face. I feel like it honestly depends on the person and the situation. That was a situation where I was like, absolutely no. You're lucky I will never see you in person again. So, like, yeah, get out of my photo. Ever since then, whenever we had like new people show up, I would be like, okay, great. You can stand on the side. We're going to take one with you. And then we're going to take one without you, because there's no documentation that says that you two are legally married or anything like that. So until that happens, which I mean, yeah, you can still get divorced, but I learned to kind of arrange people differently and take a couple different types of photos. But that had only come up once. I feel like it's gonna get real sticky talking about emotional stuff just because of what's going on right now. But my brain can somewhat compartmentalize stuff. Sometimes I can look at photos of an event and I can remember, like, yes, the party was great, but I can remember a crummy text message that came after it. I will still leave those photos as is. I will still create the layout as is because I feel like my hope is always that either that relationship won't always be that rocky or maybe something will get better. Because I'm not working on it in that moment, there's a little bit of distance between the original feeling and when I'm revisiting those photos. There's more distance between when I've made the layout and then when I go see the layout living in the album, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I am of the mindset that that person was involved in my life at that time. And so I'm okay with them being in the photos. I know there are certain times where you're like, absolutely, you know, if it was a really bad situation and they don't need to be there, that's totally different. I don't think that I've ever had that type of situation where it's been absolutely, you're completely no longer a part of anything. But I do plan very well. Like you said, I will take our core family photos. Then I will add additional people. And then I will do photos of them alone. So, like this year, I've already planned out, you know, obviously we're going to be doing something around Christmas time with Eli and his girlfriend because it seems to be a pretty serious relationship and I'm sure she'll be sticking around for at least the next month or so. So my plan is to have us do our core family photos, have her come in with our core family photos, then have photos of just the two of them together. And that way I can use which photos I need to use. So I'm okay with having her in the background if the relationship doesn't work out because this was a significant.
I was going to say this is also 10 years from now. Let's say they're not together. You know, the odds of that are pretty low. It's still a decent memory of saying, "Hey, this was your first girlfriend and this was how we included her in our
Right.
lives."
Yeah. And so while I may not present her predominantly in photos, right, I'm not going to take her out completely from all the photos, right? So whenever I decide to do these photos in the year's future, if she's no longer in his life, then maybe I won't use that photo of the two of them together. Maybe I'll just use the big group family shot of everybody and then also have our own family shot. So she's there, but it's not like I'm pulling in that lovey-dovey photo that I'm sure that they're going to take. Yeah, so that's how I deal with it is one, I take multiple photos like you do, and two, I always make sure that if I need to take photos that I am sure I'm going to use now, but maybe I won't use those in the future. And that's okay.
And I think that kind of like rolls into the next thing that you had on here where it's like trying to balance that perfect holiday vibe with the emotions of what's going on. And I feel like that's when my brain tends to kind of just not shut off or shut down, but I kind of do the thing like my husband does when I'm like, "Hey, can you take a picture?" Where I'm literally just, I'm taking the photos. I'll deal with what they look like later. I'm not in the mindset to document it. I'm just sort of, this is what's happening. If it's not 100% like lovey-dovey Hallmark movie going on, that's okay because I don't think that that is common in most of our lives. I think most of us have, oh gosh, crazy Aunt Karen's coming to dinner, like, yay. Like and maybe one year you love Karen and the next year you're like, I don't want to deal with crazy Aunt Karen. And then the next year you're more neutral because so many different things are going on. And I feel like I notice this the older I get. I feel like it's just something that like when I was a kid, you really kind of experienced Christmas. And then as you get older, you start to realize that your family was the one that was creating all of that. And now you're the one that's creating all of that.
It's a lot of work.
And yeah. And I gotta cook, and I gotta clean, and I gotta entertain, and I gotta make sure I take all the photos, and I gotta make sure that like when I go to do the layout, I'm not sitting here being like, "Oh my God, did you take any good
Mm-hmm.
photos?"
I feel like too right now Eli's in this mindset that he doesn't want Christmas gifts anymore. He we had this conversation a while ago that he would rather have experiences than Christmas
Oh,
gifts.
I was about
And
to be like, send them to me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, no. So but then those experiences are not cheap at.
no, and it's a lot of times it's delayed. You know, I got real lucky that like with Jake's birthday, I did an experience and I took him to his first concert, but it just the timing happened to be 2 weeks later.
Yeah. And so this year we are doing a Disney cruise in January. And so
Ooh.
part of their Christmas gifts, because it's my mom's 65th birthday. So she was like, I want to do a Disney cruise. And I was like, say no more. Like,
Right.
I will be there. So I know our Christmas presents are going to revolve around cruise items and things that we are going to be using, 2 weeks later when we go on a cruise. So and last year that happened as well because we took a cruise to.
I was gonna say, I feel like you guys went last December, wasn't
We,
it?
we went last January, and that was a totally other aspect of it. We lost my grandfather last November, so it's been just over a year. And he had always wanted to go on a cruise. Like he had talked about it. At first, he was like, I don't want to do a cruise. I'm never going to do a cruise because he was in the Navy. So he was very much against any type of cruising because he's like, I back being in the Navy. And then we kind of just explained to him the difference between enjoyable cruises and
It's a bar on a boat.
right. It's just because you're on the boat does not mean that it is.
Because I think you guys are doing different cruises. Because I find this very interesting because my grandparents probably went on 80 cruises and they were doing like the Princess House ones where like you sit at an assigned table, you have to dress for dinner. Like it was very, and he was military too.
So we had finally convinced him that we were going to plan a cruise, we were going to do that, and then unfortunately we lost him. So my mom was like, I want to do this because we didn't also. He was very adamant that he didn't want a funeral. He didn't want to have this big memorial service for him or anything like that. So my mom was like, this is a way for us as a family to memorialize him.
So have you done those photos yet or are you avoiding them?
The cruise photos.
Hmm.
Well, that just happened in January. I'm not caught up, and I'm not, so I'm not avoiding
You
them.
don't scrap and order anyways.
I know, so I'm not avoiding them. It's not like
I'm just asking because we're going into the avoidance part of the foul line here.
yeah. So no, I'm not avoiding them because there are so many fun things that I want to document with that. I will tell you that what I am avoiding is Thanksgiving and from last year because that was like we lost him November 5th. So that holiday hit immediately. Like we still hadn't finalized everything.
Yeah, and I've heard they say the first few years worth of holidays kind of hit the hardest, and I kind of feel like we're about to go down that road. I'm very much just like, it makes me a little nervous going into Christmas just because of all the stress that's already kind of around Christmas. And then like knowing that I'm probably going to be grieving, it's like trying to figure out how you set that aside and still like make magic for people that, are here and living.
Yeah, especially when you have kids. I mean, even though they're teenagers, that's still a hard thing to do. And I will tell you that my ex-husband, we lost his grandmother on December 28th. And so even it was after Christmas, right? But still like the entire Christmas season for several years, because this was back in like 2011, 2010, something like that. I mean, a while ago. So even the first couple of Christmases after that, even though she passed after Christmas, it was still a hard season because it's like you're celebrating Christmas and then you're having to deal with that just a few days later. And she was very sick and she was in hospice. And so we were dealing with that through the holiday season. So that was a really hard time as well for us.
And I feel like there's probably a lot of people who go through that. I feel like that's why I'm like not pushing to be caught up and saying like, oh, you need to get this. No, if you're not ready, don't do it. Like until you can like effectively, or not effectively, but I mean until you want to deal with those photos, don't deal with them.
And like I said, that's not just for Christmas. That's for anything. There's times where I have pushed through and I have dealt with things because I'm like, I want to get these off my plate. Not holidays, but like vacations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I have moved past it and, it's been 5 years since my last relationship, there are times where I look through some photos and I'm like, I know that I've documented those, but I probably did a really crappy job because I just wanted to get them done. Whereas they may have done better justice now. And so even though I did rush through it, I don't recommend that at all.
But I mean, do you really feel like even now that they necessarily need to have this like amazingly sentimental documentation, or you just need storage for the photos?
It's more of I found this really cute paper that would have worked very
Mhm.
well for those photos, and I I didn't do something.
And you can check the box and say those photos are done. Like this part of my past calendar is taken care of. And I feel like it's okay. I've done it a couple times recently in layouts where I was getting close to some like emotional type stuff. And to me, I'm okay pulling back on like the journaling and just going like super basic because that's where emotionally I'm at the moment. Like I can always go back and tuck something behind it if I really want to. I don't necessarily know that if I wanted somebody just flipping through my family albums to know like my deep emotional stance on something, like, bam, look at this cute paper. And by the way, those are my tears dried on that journaling. Like, no, it's okay. Like, and especially the fact that we share stuff publicly on YouTube. Sometimes I'm like, I either I will journal later or it's none of your business.
And there have been layouts where I have said this was before. I don't think I've done anything recently, but there have been times where I've said I'm not going to document this on camera. And I think one time I did it where I started. This was about voting, and it was in the 2020 year, and so we know that that is a very tough voting year and there's lots of controversy on it. And so I was documenting not who I was voting for, but more about the pride that I felt for voting during that year because the country was really divided and there was that people were out getting like the lines were long. And then you also had the 6 feet of distance between everybody. So that made it even look longer. So my layout was more about
The process of getting even in there to vote. Yeah.
right. And so I started to write. I actually handwrote my journaling. I remember this. I started to write it, and then as I was editing the video, because I wrote most of it on there, and then I cut all of it out, and then I covered up my journaling because I was like, it's really nobody's business who I voted for. That's not what this layout's about.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, unfortunately, I've seen it and I think it's gross is people will find out like, okay, let's use a celebrity for example. They'll find out that their celebrity is red or blue or this or that. And then all of a sudden they're like, nope, you're canceled. And I just feel like I don't care. Like you have the right to vote. You go in there, you pick the best person that you want to vote for. If you write down Santa Claus's name on there, I'll be like, that's you know what? That was a choice. You made it. I'm proud of you for getting out of your car, going out in public.
Yeah. My ex's grandmother, I don't remember who it was, but every year she wrote in who she it was the same person that she wanted president, and it was every single year. And you can't tell, and it's 70-year-old who that's not going to work. Like your one vote isn't going to work. But every year she was like, I'm one day that person will be president. And I'm like, okay,
I should start doing that. I should just go put Nick Cage on there every year.
there you go. All right, so I think we're both in the consensus of don't do it if it doesn't work for you. You do you.
Hmm.
And it's okay not to be caught up. It's okay not to work through those photos unless you really want to work through them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's everybody works, everybody, they say everybody grieves differently. So there's some people that they can turn their brain off and they can deal with photos and memorabilia, and that is cathartic to them. I am somebody that very much can look at a photo. Like my memory sucks, but I can look at a photo and I'm like back in whatever emotions were going on at that time. I couldn't tell you what was happening, but I know how I felt. So a lot of times I kind of have to wait on things until I'm like either there's been a conversation with that person or something's been worked out or something. And everybody's different. You got to figure out like if you're not ready, don't do it. Don't sit there and waste pretty paper.
Right, exactly. I'm the same way. If I look at a photo, I can be transported back emotionally to that time.
I feel like even if you scrapbook chronologically, leave that empty page protector, stick something in there, come back to it.
That's what Post-its are for.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. All right. So our last topic is going to be creating with collections. and how
Mhm.
that has been for us this year.
Okay, I feel like I owe you a public apology. Because the goal was to deal with Christmas, smaller bites throughout the year. When I originally was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into creating collections, which I'll back up and explain that in a second. You were like, well, I'm kind of interested. And I was like, well, hell yeah, get on the bus. Let's go. This is the time of year where I sit here and I brainstorm and I think of things that I want to do the following year. I did not know 12 months ago what was coming. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to have all the time in the world. And then I just kept being handed like another ball to throw in the air. I mean, happily, I took that ball and threw it in the air. But then I was like, oh no. And every month it would go by, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm disappointing you. I feel like I'm disappointing the people that love that series. And you just kept telling me, it's your yes year. You need to just write it out. It'll be there when we get to it. It's okay.
I feel like I am a person who is just go with the flow. Like, I don't feel like I present that in regards to it because, I am a spreadsheet person and I like to plan things.
You're go with the flow with other people. You're not go with the flow with
That is
yourself. You do
absolutely
not give yourself any grace. You do not give yourself any wiggle
no.
room. Everybody else, you're like, hey, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I think that, just bringing up just what's happened recently with myself, and I talked about it in my video a while ago by the time this goes up, but that I have been struggling in my room. And it's to the point where when I was doing things, because I kept pushing and pushing and just trying to get the content out, that what broke me and what was like, you have to take a break. I was creating layout. I could not find my T-square ruler. I could not find my Tim Holtz media ruler. I couldn't find it anywhere. I was frustrated. I literally crying as I was creating that layout because I couldn't figure anything out. And I was frustrated about all kinds of stuff going on. And so I went to edit the video that I did about behind the scenes. And as I'm editing the video, I watch myself pick up the ruler, both rulers, and throw them in the trash. Just I'm like, okay, that right there tells me that I am so my mindset isn't here right now that I can throw away my two favorite tools and not even know it.
Yeah, and that was why, like, and I felt bad suggesting because I was like, man, I feel like if I tell her, like, hey, this sounds like burnout, having been there, because I feel like we have different versions of like when we're feeling burnt out and stuff, and it's just the way that we approach content. Like, you aim for content secondhand for me, kind of. You thrive when you've got this like large project to work on. I don't think it's good that you have a large work project happening at the same time that you're trying to relax from the large work project by doing your favorite hobby, and that's making you feel like discombobulated and all over the place. That's why I was like, okay, she's starting to feel burnt out and I'm starting to feel guilty about needing to dive back into creative collections. And that's why I was like, okay, look, I feel like I've kind of scrolled myself ahead a little bit. I can probably knuckle down. I'm going to aim for XYZ. I will not be saying what XYZ is out loud because I've learned not to promise viewers or listeners anything because I can't follow through. I was like, look, let's try to knock this out and maybe you can have a focus on something, one that you've been avoiding. You probably have a little guilt of not touching all year too. Could possibly be a good distraction. And then with you never having run through creating with collections, it could possibly be a little bit of a creative spark.
And that's what I was hoping for as well. So I have at this point, I recorded my not my last video because I still have to do month in review, which that is one that I'm also struggling with this month because November last year, a very difficult month for me. I looked through my photos. I have 7 photos.
I got time. I'm like, oh no. Usually I get a text message on like the 27th. You got your layout done?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you have time. Okay. So I am, so I looked through my photos. I only have 7 photos that I can use in the month of review. And that is only like, that was stretching it. And I honestly don't know that I
feel like that. I feel like I ran into that with October, but then I'm also noticing that with mine, it's a lot of my dog and my food. But outside of events, that is my life. So like I kind of have to like not feel bad about it because those are also photos that I don't want to dedicate those to a layout. So like, yeah, put them in month in review. And when I'm old, I can go back and look at the pictures of my food and my
Yeah.
dog.
Another thing too, and this is a little bit off topic, but one of the things that I've started to do is when I start a new series, whether it is a rewatch, which I'm currently doing, or like you and I are currently watching Sons of Anarchy, my first time year rewatch. When I first started that, I did a screenshot of that show. So I was like, next year or whenever I get to month in review for 2025.
Oh, that was so smart. I got to do that. Oh, see, yeah, I should start including like the Media Monday thing that I do. I should start including like the things that I'm watching and I'm reading. I have been remembering to go in my screenshots and dump them into my photos. I just keep forgetting to use them.
And so that's something that I know that I want to plan for next year, or it's going to be in 2025. I don't know if I'm going to do 2025.
I feel like we have to backtrack for a minute
Mhm.
and explain creating collections. Like I feel like we always go
That's
off on a
probably
wrong
good.
tangent. Okay, as a viewer, how would you explain it? Because it wasn't something that like I planned and then I executed. It was like something that came out of a process and I was like, "Oh, what if I keep going with this?" And then it just kind of morphed into it. I know you binged them hard because that Easter one that broke me. You were like, "I love everything about this."
Everything. So for me, let me tell you what I really enjoy about that. And I also want to tell you that so this is the first time that I've done creating with collections with you, but I have looked back on some of mine and I do go hard on my collections, but most of the time I finish my collections, and I put that in quotations, is a sense of like, I'm done with this. Like, I don't want to create anything more with it, as opposed to maybe I could probably get another layout out of this because there's enough stuff for it, which is different than creating with collections. So I have done where I've gotten, 10 or 15 layouts out of a collection, but that is also because I purchase everything with the collection. I have those videos on mine. But what's different about creating with collections is that, at least for me, what I've learned so far is that I look at those papers, embellishments, or whatever's in that kit, and it's more about getting it out of the packaging and into a layout. And so by killing that kit, which I remember way back when, there were creators who would do that. They would take a kit.
Yeah, which was pretty much kind of where it was born from in a sense. Like I used to love watching those videos where people would get, I think it was like click kits and something else at the same time. And they would work through this monthly kit and they would show what they had made, what was still left, what they thought they were going to do. Like they would all the way down to like tiny things. But I don't like those curated kits. There's been some recent ones that I was like, you're tempting me. Um, I'm a little bit more like you, where I like matchy within a collection type. Everything works together. Everything's from the same manufacturer. And so when I was seeing those, I was like, I really like the satisfaction, like the hit of dopamine from that. I wonder if I can take this into a method that works for me, works for my process, and works for product that I like and see what happens. And it started because I was doing family photos with a simple stories line. Oh God, I can't think of the name of it. It had couches in it, chairs.
Your first one, the chairs with the first one. Oh,
And I did like all, I think I did like all of, I don't know, maybe half of our family photos. And I was like, how far can I take this? Far is where it turned out. I think it was 20 something layouts between like doubles and singles. And I very much learned I don't like this kind of paper. I don't like this kind of embellishment. I also learned how to stretch things, how to change things in a way that I like them, die cutting, all kinds of stuff. And that was like a big hit on my channel. And then I waited a couple months and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it again. And I did, it was 2 Easter. And that one, every time I've done creative collections, I always, like the first one kind of morphed from the family photos. So it was like a very family themed line. And I ended up doing non-family layouts from there. With 2, I was like, okay, let me pick a holiday that I've clearly been avoiding. And I picked Easter. Simple Stories had a super cute Easter collection. By the time I hit like layout 12, I was over it. I was like, I never want to see this again. I've used all the things I like. That one, I surprised myself with how far I stretched it. And I think one of the favorite layouts not from me, but from viewers, was the last one I did was a double with a bunch of scraps that I took a scrapbook.com tag die, cut a bunch of stuff, tags on the top, tags on the bottom, shoved anything that was left on there. People loved it. And I was like, this one was so basic. What about the other 20 layouts that I posted?
I think what it really does for people, and at least for me, and I think it is for other people as well, is it makes you look at your collections differently. So I remember that Easter collection, you were working through that and why it's my favorite. One, that Simple Stories line was super duper cute, but the layouts that you created with it weren't all heavily themed Easter. So it made you like really, obviously most of them were, right? Because
Yeah, I tend to start out with like each one has a different focus. So I tend to start out with whatever that focus is. And I had written down, I had like 8 years worth of Easter stuff. Once I got through all of that, I had to look at it and be like, okay, now what? But that collection, I think I picked on purpose because it was pretty 50-50 Easter and spring, which I always appreciate when collections do that. Because then I could shift either side of the calendar of Easter and just find anything that kind of fell within there. And it worked out. Creating with collections is something that I will always tell somebody to attempt if they really want to learn their style and their purchase preferences. Because I started out doing like you, where I'd buy the whole collection. And then towards the end, I would be like, I never opened that. Guess why I never opened it? I don't like it. So, and it's one of those things where there's something so satisfying about using something up. I get a little sad when I use up my favorite paper, but then that forces me to look at the other paper differently. And that's when you kind of start stretching your creativity a little bit. You start looking at things a little bit, you start cutting things up, or you start embracing the things that you didn't think that you liked. And each volume that I've done, I've shopped differently based on the previous one of what I liked and what I didn't like. And I tend to try to pick, I think I've done 2 Simple Stories, no, 3, but they were very different. And then a Cocoa Vanilla, we're doing Doodlebug. And I would honestly say that my scene building class was pretty much a Halloween version of Creative Collections because I used up everything. But it definitely, having done this 5 times, I feel like I know what to expect. So I watch your videos and I'm like excited because I'm like, what is going to happen? I did volume 4 with Sarah Scraps, and that was my favorite thing. I was surprised our purchases were a little bit closer than like you and mine, but I already know that you like the little icons and all of the enamels, and those enamels they're gonna break me. I've yet to use them. I used a couple lights the other day.
seriously. So when I was doing because we are going to have by the time this is up, it'll already be posted on our channels. We both did like a kind of kit where we are, what's left, and stuff like that.
Yes, I try a couple times through the process to hit the pause, show the layouts, show the kit contents, and my plan. And so I had sent you mine, and I was like, "Look, it's not organized. Good luck with this. I can't wait to watch yours."
Yeah. So when I was looking through mine, I have I think I purchased 4 sheets of enamel shapes, the shape sprinkles. I have one that I have just one little thing missing from it. I also have another one that is almost completely gone because I love those things so very much. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. And then also too, I purchased 7 Doodle Pops, and I remember you saying, "Oh, what are you going to do with those Doodle Pops?" Because that's a lot of Doodle Pops.
I like looking at them. I think they're so cute. And then, because I've gotten them from like my Bella Boulevard design team stuff, and I look at them and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with you.
So Doodle Pop reminds me of Jolie stickers
Yes.
way back in the day, right? They were much larger. Jolie stickers were much larger. I also feel like I do that type of technique with the page starters from collections too. But I love that. I love the multiple layers.
I like it on most of them. I think I've identified that my issue is they're all kind of the same shape. They're all kind of like this 2x2. My brain reads it as a blob. And sometimes I have a hard time putting that somewhere and making it not just look like it's there. Do you know what I mean?
Like a
This hand
tease,
gesture means
right?
nothing.
Like it's a, but it's just a
Yes. I love the ones where you get small. You'll get like 5 or 7 like repeated. Those ones I love. It's when it's like a giant chair or a house and I'm just like
So this layout is going up and it'll be up on my channel, but this big old cornucopia.
that I like. But that's flat on one side and like curly. That one I like. The house.
Yeah. Oh, the houses. Yeah, definitely. So, all right. So, what does creating with the collections look like going forward?
Okay. I don't like to voice things because people hold you accountable. um I would really like to push. I never know where creating collections ends. It either ends to there's two roads. I either run out of product or I run out of love for the product. I'm very much there's like a 30% push through creating collections where I'm not loving it. And I know if I push through that is when I start doing like weird things and I love the stuff that comes out of it. So sitting on like that cliff is where I'm at right now. I know you're just basking in like doodlebug love and you're like, this is amazing. And I'm over here like, what do I do with this paper? Because it is 200 reindeers. What am I like? And that's just not a pattern that's in my wheelhouse. And I bought the collection pack instead of cherry picking papers. I would like to push myself. And I was even terrified to tell you that I was like, hey, I'm going to push with creative collections. I felt like it would be better for me to just do it and ask for your forgiveness because you work so fast. But then I was like, she's got work stuff going on. I know she's got some like holiday blues stuff that's probably going to hit her soon. Like, I should probably tell her.
And let me tell you where I am. So and I am going to put this out there where you're not giving any specifics. We're not saying that we're going to have it fixed or done by this certain date. We're not putting any of that out there. So I want to preface that with that. But I will say that I have planned my next set of layouts. I'm not going to tell you how many I planned, but I have planned my next set of layouts. And you've got 3 planned. That's it.
I got 3, and that's pretty proud of. That's I'm proud of that.
So and what I'm about to tell you is you're either it's one of those things that I'm gonna have to ask for forgiveness. But I have my next set of layouts planned, right? And those layouts that I have planned will finish 2023. And when I planned those layouts, my thought process was that I picked sketches where there was lots of smaller portion paper because I wanted to kind of use up some of the paper, but I wanted to use lots of it, right? And my thought process too was that once I finish that set of photos and layouts, I'm then going to be left with where I have to focus on certain items that are left in the collection, like those big circle pieces, right? You knock that out of the gate in the beginning. I have an idea in my head now that's planning, like I need to figure this out. Like it's just a little spark up there. I know that the next grouping of layouts that I have to plan are going to not be photo focused because this set was let me finish 2023. I'm going to knock out all that photos, right? The next set is I'm going to have to be like, all right, let's look at this collection, what's left of this collection, and let me go find photos with it. But I also think that that means my creating with the collection was a lot larger than yours. I think that I'm probably not going to be done when you're done. And I think it's going to be where you get to that point where you have pushed yourself as far as you can and you're like, I'm done with it. And I'm
We'll
like,
see because we have different approaches. You tend to use really big paper. I tend to use really small paper, and that gets me far. Like sometimes I get mad at myself about it. Um, I was considering pairing. I think the 3 I planned were just random sketches. I keep pattern play out because I stalled on that class too. I keep that out as an option because it's going to be good for scraps. So I might dip into that. It honestly, it just kind of depends. I'm not doing where you picked a year. I'm kind of cherry picking and looking at my photos and asking myself if the photos feel young and whimsical like Doodlebug. So like I wouldn't have used Doodlebug for the layout of like my kids and my grandparents. That didn't feel like it would have hit. So I'm very much hopping anywhere from 2011 to 2024 so that it's kind of sprinkled everywhere. So I'm kind of approaching it like I used to do when I would take a sketch class or a sketch bundle, and I'm just focusing on like 3 to 5 planned things at a time. And I just scoot through my photos.
So I was just counting. I have 6 layouts planned. And so that's what I was saying. But I feel like it's one of those things where that's the 6 layouts that's going to finish 2023. And then the ideas that I have for the other ones, it's probably going to put me in another, like, at least another 8 to
I
10
mean, we'll
layouts.
see, because I think the smallest one I did was 15, but I paused it. I still have it. It was volume 3. I didn't call that one down. I paused it. Everything else, I want to say I hit at least 20 layouts. And there's no telling, because I'm telling you, you get to a point where you'll have a layout that has like no paper and a bunch of die cuts, and then you'll have a layout that has like no die cuts and a bunch of paper.
I will say, and I will put this out there, and if you don't agree, then I will cut this out. But I will say that I do think in the month of December you will get at least more than one. Can we put that out there? At least more than one
More than one what?
layout. Like you'll have at least more than one video in the month of
Oh,
December.
yeah, I was aiming for, I don't want to say.
More than
Yeah.
one. That's why I said more than one. Yeah, we're gonna have at least one because we had one in
I mean,
November.
I've got 3 planned. I got to at least get through those. Honestly, I here's the thing though, is the first I've done 6. I feel like they were moderate amount of time for me. The problem with creating collections is the smaller my paper gets, the more psychotic I get about what I want to do, and then it takes forever. I'm die cutting stuff, I'm stitching stuff. The layouts are cute, but I am slow. And that was why I was like terrified to tell you, like, hey, I cut into creating with collections, because I can send you a picture of me touching paper and cutting it, take a nap, wake up from a nap, and you're like, here's my layout. And I'm like, this is why I don't tell you things,
Yeah,
because
and
you'll ask
that's
me.
with me like not planning or anything. That's just like, oh, she's got one done. Let me knock one out. So where we're gonna leave that with creating with collections is more is coming. When that happens, we do not know.
Yes.
But we will be planning lots of layouts, and we're not. It's going to be more than a year long collaboration. I think is yeah. So we have 2 episodes left for this year, and we're super excited about that for you guys. I can't believe that we've done 8 episodes. That just blows my mind to think back to May when it was a hear me out, and we were like,
I was like, absolutely not.
and now here we are, 8 episodes in. And so, also in episode 10, just to give you guys a little preview of that, we are going to be asking from you. So, that's going to be coming very soon in our Facebook groups. We're going to start asking you guys questions so that we can talk about it in episode 10. So, we're going to bring out a couple topics. I'm not going to bring them up now, but just know that that's coming soon, where we are going to get some things from you and then discuss it. And just another little sneak peek, every comment that has made us go, "Aw," has been screenshotted and it's in the folder. And we probably won't talk about a lot of it, because at first I was like, this is so sweet. I'm so excited when we first launched our podcast, and I screenshotted everything. And then after a while, it became, holy cow, there's a lot of screenshots in this folder. So I don't know that we'll get all of
Thankfully, I have not experienced any negative ones. So I'm really glad. I haven't gotten a single DM saying I hate it. You're annoying. I haven't gotten any like negative, and I think that's amazing. And I think you should be really proud of yourself. And yeah, I can't wait to I want to read some of them, because some of them came through and I was like, oh my gosh, the fact that they stopped to take time to say that.
Yeah. And they're not short. Like, I know sometimes when you leave comments on our YouTube channels, they're short because you're just showing that they're in the engagement there. You're just,
Yeah, it's like an acknowledgement if I watched it. Like the emoji thing, I think is the cutest thing that people are
yes,
doing right
because that
now.
gives, and we talked about this before too. Like, even if you just were to put an emoji, something simple, right? It does something on the back end of YouTube to say, hey, this person took the time to comment, and then it pushes it out even further. So we love that. But these comments that we're talking about are like paragraphs of what they enjoyed. I had one person tell me that they were walking and listening to it and they were freezing when they were walking, but they kept listening to it. So those types of comments are just super sweet, and we can't wait to read those to you guys. That is coming soon. We have, like I said, 2 episodes left of this season, and then we will decide what we're going to do in 2026. All right. So one last topic about Christmas photos. Your final takeaway. What is the one thing that you want to leave people with in regards to tackling the holiday season?
Do whatever makes sense to you. If you look at your photos and you're like, I do not want to look at crazy Aunt Karen, don't use the photos that she's in. If you want to just use one photo that documents that, use one photo. Do what makes sense to you. Use what makes sense to you. Work on it when it makes sense to you. Celebrate it however you want to celebrate it, not however social media shows you, how everybody else is doing it, because some of that is marketing.
Absolutely. That's a great saying. And I think it goes back to what you always say is you do you. So whatever works for you. I think that what I would like to leave is that everything you said was great. It is okay to not be okay during the holiday season. While you may have to put on a brave face for your family or
not.
Yeah, that's true too. That does not mean that you have to put a brave face on in your scrapbook room. So you do however you want it to do in your scrapbook room.
I know for a fact that there is going to come a time where I'm going to want to work on a layout and I'm probably going to sob through it. But because of the editing, nobody will know. And it's cathartic. It'll be fine.
And that's the great thing about editing, because I will tell you that all of the frustration of that one layout that is coming up on my channel very soon, all of that was frustrated was cut out. So you will not see it on camera. But yes, so that's a great thing for us. But sometimes that is needed. So we do scrapbook a lot of happy memories.
Yes. It's okay to feel the feels. It's okay to save them for later.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we can't wait to see you in the next episode where we talk about all of 2025 and what that means for us.
Yes, I'm excited to do the recap, and I'm excited to hear what people think about Christmas scrapbooking when this goes live as well.
We will catch you next time then.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like this episode, make sure you follow the show so you don't miss what's coming next.
We're so glad you joined us today, whether you were gluing, cutting, or just avoiding your photo backlog.
Until next time,
pass the scissors.